won an award, the Boss Mag 2009 Ohio Hip Hop Award. Y'all won for that media outlet thing.
Man, I don't even know.
Like y'all won. He didn't even know he won it.
What'd you say? Who was it?
You won the Boss Magazine 2009 Ohio Hip Hop Award. Congratulations.
That's legendary.
95, you rolling.
Hey, what's good, man? It's your boy Dash Resource, aka Peanut. I'm here with my man, legendary Smed Stacking Smed, and man, there's not a legend higher than this in Dayton Ohio. Listen, I know I've said this multiple times on this podcast, but I promise you, I was not wrong once. Right? We have the legendary Michael L. Wright Jr., right?
No, Michael L. Wright. No Junior.
No Junior, man. Look,
Do you got a Junior, Mike?
No.
Oh, little Mike.
Yeah, he's not little. He's Blake Michael.
Wright. He's Blake Mike. Always talking.
Yeah.
Okay, he did it. Okay, now to put more respect on my man's name, right? He was rated by the American Trial Lawyers Association from 2009 to present, the top 100 trial attorneys, and also the 2018 super lawyer, right? Mm-hmm. What does super lawyer mean?
Super lawyer is just a designation of lawyers that have done well, that have won trials and have accomplished a few things. So I was designated as in I think 2018, 19, and 20 as one of the super lawyers.
Wow. So do your Google. That's like winning your championship as a lawyer, right?
Yeah, it's probably a ring as a lawyer. Yeah.
So here at the Legendary People Podcast, we like to honor our legends, but we like to start out with the origins. So, like, where'd you grow up at?
I grew up here in Dayton. I grew up off of Gettysburg, Danridge.
Wow.
I lived on Sicilian, so that was right off of Danridge, right where that Dura Creek. Y'all know Dura Creek. Yeah. Y'all know that fruit stand, that fruit market right there.
Yeah.
Bro, I worked
and
at
that
Dura
IGA.
Creek. I worked at Dura Creek for like 3 or 4 hours.
That's it, 3 or 4 hours.
Yes, I did. I was hammering some steel concrete, some concrete barrel with a mallet.
Yeah, that's what.
It
Yep,
was crazy.
that's what they do there. Break up that concrete. So I grew up right behind Dura Creek. We actually used to play in the field with jumping off all those concrete barriers and stuff. So that's where I grew up.
So, like, growing up during that time, like, what was some of the things that you did as a kid besides jumping off the concrete barriers? I mean, what was life like around that time?
It was just, I think it was cool because you had neighbors and we go outside a lot. You stay outside like they used to stay outside till street lights come on, and then we came back home. When I was growing up, you had to go outside. Right. So it was what I thought to be what I didn't know any different. It was it was a good it was good rearing. It was good growing up. I mean, lots of friends and like I said, neighborhood and stuff. I mean, it was cool. It was cool.
So during that time, you had your mom and your dad in the house.
Yeah, I had my mom and dad in the house.
Shout out to mama love, daddy love.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be here without them. Absolutely. My dad, worked in the plant, worked in the GM plant. My mom worked as a receptionist for, it used to be Franciscan Hospital. It was St. Elizabeth, and it was Franciscan.
I was born there.
Yeah,
I was born there.
I was born at a Good Sam. But yep. So that's kind of how I grew up. My parents, kind of latchkey kid. They were at work. You come home, make yourself something to eat. Go outside until they get home. So it was all right.
Okay, so like during this time, so like you went through the natural process to going through school. So what school did you go to?
I started off at Gardendale.
I went to Gardendale.
Did you go to Gardendale?
Yeah, I went to Gardendale.
I started off at Gardendale. I went there for I think through like 2nd, 3rd grade. Then my parents moved to Trotwood. Mm-hmm. So when they moved to Trotwood, I went to Dayton Christian. So that's why I spent like the majority of my junior high school and stuff at Dayton Christian High School.
Okay, so how would that change for you? Like going from living kind of in the inner city, kind of moving to a place where, I mean, like back in the day, like they called that area like the Black Wealth, right? So like, what was that like for you?
I mean, it was the same. I mean, we went outside. We had neighbors. I didn't know too much of a difference. I didn't recognize a difference. Right. We had a lot of folks. The neighbor across the street. She had a lot of like adopted kids and a lot of foster kids. So we'd be out there playing. Just didn't know that that we didn't not have certain things, you know what I'm saying? Right. So it was just it was cool. It was cool.
During elementary school and just coming up in your middle school, what type of stuff was you interested in other than playing? Like just kind of like things that you was like interested in doing?
Yeah, basically we played and played sports. I mean, rode dirt bikes. I remember I had a Huffy Thunder Road. We just we was just out. Used to fish. There was a creek that we used to go to all the time and fish when we were growing up. We used to trap. There used to be like turtles and stuff in this creek. We used to trap turtles and stuff. I mean, it was just just doing normal, regular outside, activity type stuff. Go to the park, play basketball, play soccer. We played, baseball. Good, I was good. So the high school I went to didn't have football, so I played soccer. Okay. Yeah. So I was pretty athletic. So I actually ended up going to college at University of Cincinnati playing soccer.
Did you?
I was good. I was pretty good in high school, and and I went there in college to play University of Cincinnati.
Man, I played soccer my whole life coming up too. What? Shout out to the Dayton Dingoes, man. Real talk.
Yep.
Man, I love soccer, man.
So it was cool. I mean,
right now.
High school I went to didn't have didn't have football, so I probably would have played football, but ended up playing baseball. I was pretty good in baseball. I was pretty good in soccer. So that's the sports that I was in coming up.
Okay, so in retrospect, like, if you just fast forward to where you are now, were there any childhood influences that you could have saw that kind of were the breadcrumbs to where you are today?
I think that just, going back, I looked at, how my dad got up every day and went to work, how my mom got up every day and went to work. That really was influential for me, and there were a couple, I think I was the type of kid that if you told me I couldn't do something, that was the motivation I needed to get me to the place I wanted to be. Going to the school when I left, like Gardendale and went to Dayton Christian. I mean, there were a lot of kids that didn't look like me, and this was back in the 70s where you didn't necessarily have the. You didn't have the diversity that you have right now. You didn't have the the interest in us doing well. So a lot of the I wouldn't say a lot of the teachers, but there were a few teachers, a few counselors that didn't necessarily believe that I was going to be someone that could achieve a lot, so as a result of that, it just really fueled me to, I just had a really strong work ethic. I just was, if you told me I couldn't do something, I was going to outwork everybody as long as it took to get to the place where you didn't think I could be.
Man.
So we coming up into middle school, elementary school. I'm kind of staying in that lane.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, did you know did you have any type of vibe that you wanted to be a lawyer?
No, I didn't really think about being a lawyer until maybe like high school, towards the middle, end of high school. I knew that I could argue. I knew that, how people be like, he gonna be a lawyer, that kid can, because I could argue my point. If I wanted something, we were gonna debate about it,
Right.
and that's kind of how, we did in my house growing up. I'm like, Dad, I want them new basketball shoes. You know what I'm saying? Be like, nah, they cost too much. But if you get me, I might be able to dunk. You know what I mean? If you give me these shoes, my jumper gonna be a little better. You know, I'm able to rock. So I was just able to, I always debated. I always kind of argued, but I didn't really necessarily know that, I didn't know that was a good trait to become a lawyer. I didn't know no lawyers. Nobody from my family went to college. I mean, we didn't have any access to lawyers. I didn't even know when I graduated from law school. I couldn't even tell you the name of one black lawyer here in Dayton.
Wow. Wow. So on the early child, so like on the early childhood influences, of course you still had like the Martin Luther Kings of the world and stuff like that. Was there anybody like besides that that's like nationally?
Yeah, like Johnny Cochran. He was a very very great lawyer. Thurgood Marshall. Those
are coming back up in the story a little later on.
Yeah, those were folks that just looked like me, that had major influence. They were sharply dressed. Mm-hmm. They spoke well. That those are people you look up and like, man, what can I do to be like him, or to have the respect and influence that those guys have.
Right. So, of course, you're going from the 70s to the 80s. Did you notice anything change about Dayton, during the crack era?
I vividly remember, like, I think that era really started from like 1979, 1980, 1981. I remember being in junior high, and it just, it started to be a little more tough,
What are some things that like you noticed during that time?
I noticed like we used to go to the Salem Mall all the time, and then back then, there was when the fights started. People started getting jumped. You had what was the group called? The dogs. The dogs. Yeah, we were
shout out Marlon Shackelford.
Right, shout out. Yeah, they made. I wasn't allowed to go to the mall after some of that stuff was happening. But I remember, the Funway Freeway, going to the movie theater, and it just started to be where, you kind of started recognizing that you got to be a little more careful now. You got to be aware of your surroundings. You know what I'm saying? You got to kind of make sure you know who you hanging out with. Make sure you trying to do the right thing, because there are people getting jumped, people getting robbed, and I think that was the beginning of the what I would say is the drug epidemic in Dayton, and I think that was very early 80s.
All right, so kind of like piggybacking on what P is talking about. So I got an older brother. My older brother, he electrical engineer. Man, he could care less about any drugs. Mm-hmm. Like I don't even think that he was even acknowledging the fact that drug selling was going on, right? Let alone participate in any of this stuff. Did you ever feel like you was pressured to like anybody try to rope you in, bring you into drugs, or influence you not to use them, but to sell dope?
That's a great question.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I remember, we used to go to putt and gamble. We used to go to putt and we used to gamble there. We used to, go bowling to Capri and gamble there. We used to go to Bolero.
He knows okay?
Yeah, we used to go there and gamble there. And during that time, I was in probably high school at that point, and at that point they had work programs, like General Motors had work programs and stuff like that. So I was fortunate to have one of those jobs. So I was out here, gambling, but I was gambling with my paycheck as opposed to gambling with,
you was actually, it was you had a bankroll, but it was coming from a legit source.
But that was what was, at that period of time, you really had to make a decision as to whether or not what lane you were going to be in, because I liked the stuff that those cats had.
Yeah.
I like the cars. I like the Blazers with I like the
cross
the
colors.
Trans Ams and
the cross colors, the skids,
I like the cross
damage,
colors. I liked all that.
I'm the cross colors right now.
Yeah, I liked all that. And they had the prettiest women. They had they were what was happening, and I knew that wasn't where I was supposed to be, but I liked the environment because the environment was exciting and the environment was what was happening, So I would take my paycheck and go, and go to putt-putt, take my paycheck and go to Bolero, take my paycheck and play tonk, take my paycheck and do all of that. So that really, from my perspective, kept me connected. Right. You know what I mean? I wasn't necessarily in the mix, but I was close enough. I knew what was going on. I knew who was doing what, but I still liked that. I liked that environment. That was an exciting environment, So it was. So I think I'm fortunate to have had the opportunity to kind of be on both sides of the fence.
Right. So like you spoke about how high school was really a turning point on when you decided to become a lawyer. So was that senior year?
Well, before I became a lawyer, I was an engineer.
Well, I mean,
spoiler
alert! You're not getting there yet. I got it in my notes.
So
before you got there, was there was there any part where you really was thinking about it, measuring it, not really taking it that serious yet?
Yeah, so in high school, like I said, I had that GM job, you know what I mean? And that was, those were great jobs, for high schoolers and stuff like that. Right. But to keep those jobs, GM at that point in time, they wanted engineering students. Right.
Yeah.
So,
you gotta make a commitment.
Yeah, so I was pretty good at math and science. So I was thinking, okay, I want to keep getting this check, keep keeping this path, but I had to start, going the engineering route. So that's when I decided in high school that, okay, I'm gonna go to, engineering school. I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but this was the path where I knew that I would have a job. I knew that I would be able to pay my bills. I knew that, I would, go in a direction where I wouldn't be broke.
Yeah.
So.
Was this also influenced by Dad? Because Dad also worked at GM plant, and he knew what the engineers made there. So was there a little bit of Dad on your shoulder tapping you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my dad was in the plant, working in the plant, and he was a maintenance guy in the plant. It was a machine repairman in the plant. So yeah, it was, my dad was proud to have his son working in the plant also, and doing well at school, and and doing those things. I was proud that he was proud, but also, again, I liked, getting the check. Mm-hmm. I like, the fact that, that gave me potentially the ability to not have to depend on them for anything. Exactly. I can make it on my own and make it for myself.
So I don't want to rush the story at all. I want to ask another retrospect question is, how important was GM to Dayton, Ohio?
GM was so important to Dayton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you can tell by the effects that we're having right now. I mean, I think, personally, I think GM leaving, significantly hurt Dayton, and it's still hurting Dayton. Yes. You have a lot of people that are unemployed, a lot of people that are underemployed, mm-hmm. Because them GM jobs, back then, them brothers were making $20, $30, $40 an hour, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now the similar jobs, they're making a third of that, Yeah. So, they're those plant jobs. I really think that those jobs was the foundation of Dayton.
Absolutely.
I think those jobs, you can all of us know somebody's daddy, granddad, aunt, uncle that worked in the plants, because everybody worked in the plants, you know.
And it
that
also
afforded everybody to have a house, that afforded everybody to have a Cadillac, that afforded everybody to, you know, to go out and spend money in the community, you know, support, you know, all our businesses, and you know, unfortunately, that's gone.
Yeah.
And it gave people an opportunity to actually live all right without actually having to go to college.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem. Like, there's no jobs out here that are gonna pay like that without
there
somebody getting some type of trade skill or something
absolutely.
like that. So,
that was the foundation of from my perspective, of this city, and you know, and we were proud.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We were proud. We
To
were
work
clean.
again.
We dressed good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody had, you know, they went to the car wash on Saturday and Sunday, and you know, I mean, we were proud.
you was proud. You was proud to have a job.
Absolutely. Proud to have a job.
Man,
And
no
I was
doubt.
proud to, you know, to go to the plant where my dad was working. I remember, you know, we used to take him lunch. You know, he would come out in his orange jumpsuit, you know, and we would give him lunch, you know, we did it multiple times a week. So, you know, it was just, I think that, you know, the nuclear family was a lot stronger than what it is now.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
back to the trademarks, where the story was as well. So at this point, you've made the decision that you're going to go to school for mechanical engineering.
Yep.
Right. So during this time, whatever, it's kind of a lot of dad's influence, but you know deep in your heart you want to practice law.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What's that first year of college like for you? Because we always like to talk about our legends about how we go from being Dayton in the streets to Dayton in college. So
The first year of college was just, it was weird. It was odd because I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't really have nobody to talk to. Fortunately, a few of us went to college together. I had a couple friends that
us some
graduated.
Yeah, what's their names, Mike?
But LeVay Smith, Ephraim McAdoo. These are all dudes that we all kind of, you know, grew up together. You know, Steve Taylor. It was you know, it was several of us that, you know, went from high school, went to college. But you know, first year was pretty tough. There was 4 of us in a small room.
at what college?
I went to University of Cincinnati.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
UC.
Went to UC. And, you know, there were us, you know, stuffed in the dorm room, you know, didn't really know, you know, much of anything other than, you know, where to walk to class and where the lunchroom was. And, you know, we just, you know, I would say just stayed focused.
Right.
You know, it was more scary than anything. I think it was scary because I didn't want to fail, you know, because, you know, my people didn't really have a lot of money, so I didn't have no other option. You know what I'm saying? Is either, you know, get through it or come home and either maybe got a job at the plant, maybe, you know, go out here and do other stuff. But, you know, I was more scared to fail, which made me super determined to try to work as hard as I possibly could to, you know, to do something with my life.
Right.
Yeah.
So during this time, are you double dutying, such as like you have a major and you have a minor? Is it kind of like, are you feeding that lawyer itch too?
Well, not yet, because first year engineering school was hard. I mean, it was very hard. You know, they had brother probably wasn't even prepared, but I was taking calculus, chemistry, physics, you know, all that at one time. And, you know, I did all right in school, but I wasn't necessarily prepared for that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And at UC in engineering school, back then, you know, in the early 80s, a lot of the students were foreign. So they're like Indian and Chinese, you know, and they're a different type of student than I was, you know what I'm saying? They had better study habits, you know what I'm saying? They were more prepared to be there. So, you know, it was a struggle, you know, initially. It was a super struggle to, you know, to keep up.
But being exposed to that, did it benefit you being exposed to that?
Absolutely. I mean, there ain't, and I would say in Cincinnati in the early '80s, racism does exist. You know what I'm saying? I'd say that. When you're the only black in your class and is 70% white, the rest is Asian and Chinese, then it makes it tough, so nobody necessarily pulling you aside and saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, you know what I mean? It was just really a matter of, trial and error,
So a lot of times we interviewed Daquan Cook, and we talked about once he had made it to the NBA and he was, playing and winning the 3-point shootout, we asked him, did he ever feel like that there was pressure to perform for the city? At that point, because our whole collective vibe was we wanted him to do well. He was our representation at that point. Absolutely. Right. And then another thing that brothers and sisters deal with is this psychic trauma, where we feel like, let's say a black person does an interview on the news and they're just saying ridiculous stuff. If we feel like it makes all black people look bad. So did you ever feel any of that type of pressure? Like you was the only black person in this class. You're dealing with all other races in there. Did you ever feel like you had to perform for black people's reputation in front of all of those other students?
At that point, I don't think it was me trying to perform because I want to be the black representative.
Yeah.
I think at that point I was just trying to survive.
Right.
I was just trying to make it, and whether or not that was a good reflection on the blacks and African Americans, I that didn't even cross my mind back then. No, but I did know that. Looking around, I was the only black sitting in the class, you know what I mean? So definitely. That was pressure in and of itself. So I guess the answer to that is kind of yes and no. I knew that, I had to perform because the next person coming behind me would have to either walk in these footsteps or walk around them because I did such a terrible job. So I was trying to lay a path for someone, but at that point in time I don't necessarily it wasn't super conscious because all I was trying to do was my best and trying to survive, the best way I could. Moment. Right. Yeah, I was in the moment. Now, if you ask me that question, fast forward, 25 years to now, then I'd have a different answer about those. But I guess we'll get to that.
Oh, we'll definitely get to hindsight. I have a lot for you, sir.
Okay.
I hope you're comfortable. You need.
I'm fine. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Sure you completely comfortable.
I'm good.
So, we always get into because every person we interview has had a college experience.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you, what is a crazy college experience you had? Because I'm pretty sure, yes, it was all work, head down, but the statute of limitations is up. So you can tell us the crazy college experience. Yeah. You have one at least.
Yeah, it wasn't all work, heads down all the time because, a lot of the dudes at UC were from Dayton, and a lot of people from Dayton used to come down to UC. They didn't even go to the school. You know what I mean? There'd be cats that have apartments down there, and you're like, you go to UC? Like, nah, but I live down here. Or there'd be cats that you see in the lunchroom, you see, and they ain't got no books. They just there kicking it, or selling weed, So it was just, I have a lot of college experiences where we went to. The very first
one that pop in your head, like that one right there, like the one you think about right there. That story. Tell me that story.
Oh man, yeah, I can't. There's a couple. There's a couple of those stories where drinking a little too much. Okay. There was a story. There's a story that jumps in my mind. So we were at a club called Prime Time. That was right there on the hill, right there across from UC. And we were all, I don't know what, I think it was the first or second weekend of, all the students are there, and we were trying to talk to the females. We was drinking, and I don't even know, for real, was I even 21? I don't even think I was 21. Nah, not as a freshman. I wasn't 21.
Leslie, he knows already.
I'm wondering if, but wait, this is like 1987, so the drinking age could have been 18 back then. So I don't even know either. Right. So we were just drinking. There was like, we were dancing, and I just remember we were in a big fight inside the club.
Wait. Michael?
We were in a big, big fight. So I was throwing the hands. You know what I mean? It was just, it was a bad. It was bad. It was bad. But I still remembered from the Roll World bus stop days. You know what I'm saying? So I was still all right. You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna embarrass myself or nothing. But anyway, end of the night, we all got arrested.
What?
Yeah.
What?
We was all arrested.
Who does Michael Wright call when you get wait? Who does Michael Wright call when he get arrested?
I know it wasn't my mama and it wasn't my daddy. So I don't know. All I know is that a day later I was back in my dorm room, and we didn't do that again.
So you learned the value in proper representation when it comes to that.
Right.
At an early age.
Right.
You got skin in the game.
I needed a good lawyer at that point.
Right.
For real.
Oh man. Okay, so so like college life is going good at this time, right?
College life was cool. It was a struggle. We didn't have no money, you know what I'm saying, going to class. It was college life. It was what you would think to be college life in the mid 80s. Right. It was 87, 88, 89, with a dude from Dayton that didn't necessarily have a lot, but we made do with what we had.
There's a reoccurring theme in every last one of our interviews is this thing about sacrifice, right, Smith?
Yes, sir.
It's where you got to go through fire in order to have the glory.
Yeah, I always say this, is that when I left to go to college, I knew that there was going to be delayed gratification, that I had to put on hold the Jordans, I had to put on hold the cars, I had to put on hold the drip, I had to put on hold I had to put everything on hold. Yeah. And that was very difficult for me, because I would come home during Christmas break, spring break, and all my friends, they was doing it, driving the cars. They was, they had everything that I thought that I wanted, but, it was difficult that, I had to always keep drilling in my mind, delayed gratification. One day I'm going to catch up. Right. Not right now. I have to I have to do this right now, but one day I'm going to catch up. I'm going to have the car that I want. I'm going to have those things that I want, but right now you got to focus on this. And that was, that was the toughest thing, is for, and I still say that now, is for, our young people to focus on, what they need to do, as opposed to trying to live like someone else, or try to imitate what's on Instagram or Facebook. And you have to put in the work in order to to have the things that you want later on in life.
Right.
For a great example, right? I ain't look what you got outside in the parking lot, because I've already noticed you're established by one of the guests I've already interviewed, which is a legend with his own right, which is my man Tommy Owens Jr., right?
Mm-hmm.
When I interviewed Tommy Owens Jr., I put up here in my very best vehicle, okay? And I park in the appropriate parking area, because Smed is so particular about where you park. I'm just kidding. He's not. Right. But coming to interview him, I see your face on the side of the vehicle he drove in.
Yep.
So how does it feel going from a person from Dayton to where you was sitting there literally looking at people with, oh man, like you got the Grand National with the European
SS
windows in the back, and now you are literally having people that are legendary people in Dayton, Ohio, and the world, because we're not going to discredit our legends. Mm-hmm. Literally drive around with cars with your face on. But,
yeah, I mean, it's a great journey. Yeah. I mean, but like I said, it was, it's one step at a time, and I'm still working.
Yes.
I'm still working hard every day. Yeah. I remember, like I was talking to Smith earlier about, back in the mid 90s, I worked 12, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't think I stopped doing that until probably here the last, I would say, until this year.
Wow.
So, now I'm trying to not work as much as I used to, right. And trying to, because I have a 5-year-old son, and so I'm trying to scale back in terms of the working hardness, right. Because I think I laid the foundation. This is my 25th year of practice, so I've been working that hard for this long, and so I feel like I'm not done, but I'm gonna take a pause for a little bit, and then recharge the batteries, and then hit this treadmill again.
Well, so we're gonna get to that 25 years of service, okay? So he's trying to fast forward, but I promise you I got something for you, because so we're gonna go back to where you first achieved your associates in at mechanical engineering. So at this point in time, you satisfied your parents with, okay, you sent me to college,
right.
I know what to do.
Right.
Then you re-up to go back to get your bachelor's.
Yep.
So, what's that journey like? Is it still at UC?
Yeah, I was at UC. So I got my associates, I got my bachelor's. That was all kind of the same. Yeah, kind of all the same program. I was co-oping at General Motors. So and that's one of the reasons I went to UC is because every 3 months you would go to school for a quarter, and then you would work for a quarter. So that helped me pay for school. Yeah. So that's the co-op program. So instead of college being 4 years, it's 5 years because you have the co-op program. So I was coming back every quarter, working at GM. I was working, the plant's not even there. It was the Wisconsin Boulevard plant. Oh yeah, that's good. And I used to work on the Needmore Wagner Ford plant. Now that's a casino. Yeah. So I worked at those plants for 5, 6, 7 years.
So during this time, your parents are proud of you. You are only elevating. You're doing better, and also a lot of people don't understand. When you go to school to get these other degrees, it's not like a stick my chest out thing. It is you getting a raise when you come back with a higher degree.
Right.
But at this point, you take a curve and then you go get your doctorate.
Yep, I go to law school. So
wow, why we do that? Walk us through that process of coming to the realization of I've already achieved. You literally are Michael Jordan trying to go play baseball now.
Well, I mean, as an engineer, I was okay, and I wanted to, I wanted to do more, and I thought that. Yeah, I always wanted to be a lawyer. I thought it was time for me to, leave GM and go back to law school. So, I was, I had a good job. I was making decent money, and then I just said, in order for me to go to where I want to be, I need to, quit here and go to law school. One of the things that really made me, leave GM is that, I looked at. I came to work one day, and there was this flow chart, and it had the president of the company, and then it had all these other people that were up under him, and I was at the very bottom. So I looked at this chart, and I was like, okay, it will take me 35 years to get to this president level or CEO level, and I was like, that's a job I don't even want. Right. So why would I spend 30 years fighting to try to get somewhere that I don't even want to be?
Right.
So that's really what made me say, well, it's time for me to leave.
I also want to say, as a caveat to what you just said, was, to me, it also was the fact that when you're coming home on school, you're coming back to having the dating influences.
Yep.
During the crack era, during the time where you're saying that your friends turn into the people that we was laughing at the crackheads during this time, and I'll come back home from school and now you on it.
Yep.
Can you give us some of that?
Well, like a lot of the people that, I grew up with, where some was doing the wrong things, some was doing the right things, but, I always thought that, I could, do more. Mm-hmm. I always thought that I could, to go do more and then eventually come back and be an influence, back in Dayton. So, yeah, so those, my friends have always been my friends, and I'm still close to all the brothers I was close with, growing up, and some are corporate, some did other things, but I think we all had influences on each other, growing up together, some people turned left, some people turned right, some people kept going straight up the middle, but we all understood one another, and we all we all just wanted to to have money, to have security, to live a good life, what we deem to be a good life. So I don't know if that answers your question, but Dayton, and people from Dayton, because if you grew up here, you're always Dayton.
Yep.
You go any other place in the world and you still claiming Dayton.
Absolutely.
I'm wearing my Dayton hat. I got dudes that live in Florida, Chicago, Cali, and when we all get together, all we talking about is what we used to do when we lived here in Dayton. So it's just I think that this is a great place to be, a great place to grow up, and this had major influence on what I decided to become.
Okay, so at the point of graduation, now, man, you got the swag of the century now, because you done went through your Jordan phase of you going there, but your story better than Jordan, because you actually thrived in your second career.
Well, once I got out of law school, I was starting from zero. Mm-hmm. When I graduated from law school, I moved in. When I graduated from law school, I was broke. I had student loans. I had debt. I wanted to start my own practice. So what I did is I took a job at LexisNexis, second shift.
Shout out to them. They're still running.
I moved in with my parents. I lived in their basement because I needed an office. So I couldn't afford an office and to pay rent. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, instead of, going and getting me a nice apartment or anything like that, I paid rent in office space. So I moved in with my parents. I was working second shift. So what was happening is I was getting up in the morning at 7 o'clock, going into my office, trying to, build my practice. At 3:30, I would get dressed in my office and then drive out to LexisNexis and stay there till midnight. And I did that.
At this point, you had your degree, you passed the bar, you was a licensed.
I was a licensed lawyer, yes. But I couldn't. As a licensed lawyer, I didn't have no clients, I didn't have no, and I also wanted to try to advertise. So, I got a billboard on Salem and Gettysburg and an office, and that's all I could afford. So I had to move in I had to stay with my people until I started building up the clientele enough that, I could have that and get an apartment.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to go back to where you said, like, you passed the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Because they say that as, like, creme de la creme, the hardest test you're going to take in your life will be that. I know you put a lot of time in your, like, what you do.
Right.
Because you've already got a level of success. So you already have the mantra of moving in a level of, I've already done great. So you already have a winner mentality. How hard was that test after already achieving so much already?
it was hard from the standpoint that I was, I was working still. But you couldn't go to the next level until you pass this test. Yeah. So you really didn't have any choice. Everything that I'd done before then would have been for nothing if I couldn't pass this exam. So I really focused, and actually when I was in law school, I took the bar to be a patent attorney before I took the bar to be an attorney, an Ohio licensed attorney. So, I could do patents, copyrights, trademarks, and all that before I could represent someone in a criminal case, Yeah. So I did that after my first year. I was in my second year of law school when I took the patent bar and passed that. I was just...
It wasn't that hard for you.
That wasn't. For real. I was good at that. You know what I'm saying? That was, that's just like, you put somebody at the free throw line and they gonna make, 10 out of 10. That was just, I could do that stuff because that was, that just. I didn't say to come natural, but my brain worked like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, man. One thing that I have been noticing as just another observation that I got, man, like the people who come in here, bro, they are really genius at what they do. Yes. But the thing about a genius is rarely do they acknowledge they are a genius because it's so normal to them. But to us, we look at this stuff and we be like, he got it. He said, man, I took calculus, such and such, such and such. Yeah. Like, but just kind of like just brisking it off. Brisking it off as nothing. But like, honestly, bro, like, I think it's all right for us to pause you up real quick and be like, dude,
that's amazing.
You are amazing, bro. Like, you are doing something that's elite. You know what I'm saying? In your field. And that's all that you can ask for, bro. So I just wanted to just stop and be like,
thank you. Yeah. But you don't, as you're doing it and as you have your head down, you just do it.
Yeah, it's second nature.
Yeah, you just do it. And it's second nature, but it's also, I was working at it. You know what I'm saying? It was, what do they say? That's that Malcolm Gladwell book that says that, if you do something for 10,000 hours, you're an expert. You know what I mean? So that's just what I was doing. So I became an expert at that because I wasn't doing nothing else. You know what I'm saying? I was focused on that because I knew that was something that I had to accomplish or to finish to go in the direction that I wanted to go. And if anything I have is a super strong work ethic, and I am persistent. You know what I mean? I may fail 10 times at something, but I'm going to get there. You know what I mean? I once I have a goal set, I'm gonna knock it down some way, somehow. There's no, most everything I've done in my life has not been a straight line. It has been a curve, jump over this obstacle, duck under this obstacle, run around this, you know what I mean? But, it wasn't always a straight line, a straight path to the goal, you know what I mean? I may have to go 100 miles, to the left or to the right, but still with my eye on what I'm trying to do. And, like everyone else that has, has some level of success, is just, you just focus on it and you just do it. And you also, I've been fortunate, I've had some good breaks, you know what I mean? Some things I probably, growing up should have been in trouble for, I didn't get in trouble for, you know what I mean? Some of the things grace. Grace. So, when I probably, had too much to drink and got in my car, I made it home, you know what I'm saying? It just, things like that. It was grace, and you're right.
Virtue too.
Yeah, I was was blessed and fortunate that, some of the things that I tried to accomplish, the kind of the dominoes fell in place.
Okay, so I like to do this thing which is basically where we do a legendary handshake. Is where we say, when was the first time you met Smith? Because Lord knows he's a legend as well.
Oh, no, man.
I'm telling you, a lot, and I'm not saying this to be to blow smoke or anything, but he was a huge motivation for me.
Wow.
Very early on, when I went he had a store on 3rd Street, and I went in there, go for your mouth, and I went in there, and this brother was working, and I say working, he was working, and that inspired me. That really inspired me, because I'm like, this brother is going to make it, because he has the hustle, the work ethic, and the smarts, and he's just going to outwork everybody else. And we used to talk about that. It's like, he would be in there day and night. Yeah. He would be in there day and night. And, I would drive past. He would be in there early, late, you know what I'm saying? And that inspired me, because I was like, he's going to make it. And in order also for me to make it, I'm going to have that work ethic also. And this brother inspired me. And I remember, this was in the mid 90s, this was in the mid 90s. And I was like, he inspired me, because his work ethic and his hustle was second to none, and I was like, this brother is going to do it.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to do it too.
Right.
Yeah. And we kind of had parallel tracks, but, everything that he set out to accomplish, he's been accomplishing.
Absolutely.
And I think I have as well. So I say, first time I met him was, in the mid 90s. He had gold for your mouth. I think at the time I was thinking about doing something. I didn't end up doing anything, but, we've been friends, and he's been an inspiration to me for many years, because this brother is always on the cutting edge of what's next.
Absolutely.
Go for your mouth. And then he had T-shirts. He had many
Ohio
business.
everything.
Ohio Kings. He had the delivery service. I mean, he had everything. He's always on the cutting edge. And what I really respect is, your fearlessness. You were not scared to take risk. And that, I think, helped me also, because, I didn't know much about law when I'm putting up billboards and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But, I took the leap of faith because I didn't have any fear. And, that's who I really was looking at. Man, I was like, this dude, don't look where his business is at. Look, it's him in here most of the time by himself, and he's doing everything that he wants to do the way that he wants to do it. And I just thought that was, that inspired me. That fearlessness is, that's something that you just can't teach. You know what I mean?
Quantify it.
Yeah, you can't teach that. It's like, you can't either you got that or you don't. You can't you can't teach hungry. You can't you can't teach hungry.
What I was thinking about though, when you was talking about how you've worked 25 years, bro, and you've been working 7 days a week. Like, bro, I was just feeling like, damn, man, that's the same exact thing. And then, like, even right now, the same thing that you talk about you want to do, just get a day off of work, man. Just figure out some type of time you can just carve out for yourself. It's like a burnout syndrome, man.
But it's tough because it's a habit now. You know what I'm saying? Yes. It's who you are for the most part. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
When you get up every morning, I'm hitting the ground with my feet moving fast. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really know anything else. So
when you get up in the morning, like I'm talking about you first wake up. How do you approach your day?
And it's from the night before, because I'm thinking about what I got to do the next day, which that's not necessarily healthy. You know what I mean? Because you don't necessarily sleep the way you should sleep. You know what I mean? I'm always, and, I always, what my wife says too is, I always have a pen in my pocket.
Right.
That's just, I have a pen in my pocket. If I don't have no money in my pocket, I got a pen in my pocket. You know what I mean? And because if I have that flash of genius, I'm going to write that down. If I have something that, I think that I need to do, I'm writing it down. I'm kind of, I still am not great with technology yet. Some people keep their memo, in their phone and stuff, and I'm a write stuff down type of dude.
Yeah.
So, but you're right in terms of, being able to take that mental break, because you need it, because burnout is real. And, I experience that off and on, but, I'm trying to figure out in my space what I need to do to kind of, take the foot off the gas.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, in what I do, people's problems don't stop. You know what I'm saying? So there's always way more problems than what I can fix for people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's what keeps, that's what keeps the wheels turning in my head, and, and sometimes preventing me to chill out and relax and take that break, because, these other things aren't sleeping,
Right.
Right. So also, like, for instance, because you saw for him a issue when he was making the movie script, you actually helped him with the trademark.
Yeah.
So was this one of your first dealings when it came to that?
I think so. And, coming into the store, and, we would just chop it up and talk about, he would tell me what he would want to do, and I tell him, what I'm thinking about. And, we would just, it was good to have a sounding board to kind of, two folks kind of at the very infancy of our, of our business life, you know what I mean? Kind of talking things out. And that was good. That was, like I was saying, his fearlessness and, his drive inspired me also.
Right. So I also want to ask you, so do you choose the sector you're going to do law in, or does that sector choose you?
That's a very good question. So because I was an engineer, and early on, I started doing criminal cases, because those are all the people I knew. I had friends I was representing, you know what I mean? And I wanted to get in court to learn what I was doing. So I got on court appointed lists where they would appoint you cases. I started, taking friends' cases. I started just getting in the courtroom, starting, kind of perfecting my craft, you know what I mean? Talking to the jury, learning the do's and don'ts, mostly by trial and error. I would also go watch.
That's a bar, trial and error.
Yeah, I would also go watch other lawyers, try their cases. I would just go randomly in the courtrooms and just watch other lawyers that, had the reputation of being good, do their thing, seeing what things I liked about what they did, seeing the things that fit my style, and kind of developing my style. So I started early on with criminal cases. As I was, I did criminal cases for 20 years. I still every once in a while do a criminal case, but the cases that I really started, being very successful with, is cases that where products failed, where products liability cases, because my engineering background allowed me to understand how things worked.
Yeah.
So
it's like bread and butter to you.
Right. So I could look at this and say, oh, okay, that's why this thing failed.
Wow.
That's why this broke. That's why this didn't work the way it was supposed to work. And that allowed me to really be able to analyze those type of cases and take those cases and do well at those cases. Like cases where the roller coaster breaks. I had I represent somebody in the Ohio State Fair case that was paralyzed from that. So those type of cases, medical malpractice cases, where the doctor screws something up. Because I was pretty good at science, I could really understand those things really well. So that's what kind of changed me from doing criminal cases into, these injury cases. And also, a criminal case, you can make tens of thousands of dollars. In a civil injury case, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, that also, made made my interest peak in these other areas, because I was like, there's, in these cases, one case can make you a millionaire, whereas, it take, thousands of these other cases for you to get there.
So, walk us through the pregame jitters of your very first case. I'm pretty sure
Do you remember your first case? Your trial?
Yeah. My first trial was a landlord-tenant issue.
Okay.
Somebody was getting put out of their apartment because it's kind of I won't use names, but so a guy had an apartment. He was renting it to a young lady. Him and the young lady fell out. He got a new young lady, and he wanted the new young lady to have the apartment that the old young lady had. So
he's
a
landlord. This is a landlord.
Yeah. So he was trying to put her out so he could have his new chicken. But she had a lease and all that stuff. So basically.
So was you representing the woman or the landlord?
I was representing the woman.
The woman. Okay.
I was representing. I'm representing the small people. I'm representing the people who was done wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the disenfranchised, the least among us. And so. Had a trial. I was nervous because that was my first trial. I think, I was out of school for a little bit, and, it was the lawyer. I was giving too much away. I was going to say the lawyer that owned the apartment was representing himself. So I was representing this lady. Needless to say, we won the case. She got to stay in her place, until the lease was up, and and also he had to pay her attorney's fees, and also had to pay for some other things that he had done. So that was my first trial, and it was a W.
Okay. Yeah, that's won your first case.
Yep. Well,
that's case. Real cool.
Yep. Straight out the gate.
Yep.
So, I also gotta ask, for the glory story, it gotta be a blunder story where you feel like you could have did a little better, or like in hindsight right now, but knowing everything right
so,
now. Like my sneeze on the ground, you be like, "Hey, sir, you breaking the law."
So I've been practicing for about 25 years, and I can say that I probably in 25 years have lost 4 cases. And they still kind of stick in my mind, because those are cases that they were very tough cases to begin with, but I think every time I take a case, I'm gonna win it. You know what I mean? So it was just one was a very sad case, a medical malpractice case, that, and actually I didn't totally lose, because I had a settlement with one party for this, and then had the trial against another party. So I settled with the hospital, and then sued the doctor also, and then lost the trial against the doctor. But those are very tough cases, and so in every case that you lose, you remember. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember all the wins.
Right,
I remember the losses. But
losses hurt more than the wins. Make you happy or whatever.
But I think that's a pretty good track record. If I'm a couple thousand and 4, then I'm pretty.
Hits are what's the ring that you won? It's true, man.
He said cavalierly that he won a couple thousand and lost 4. Trust my man, right? I found
amazing,
something
bro.
so interesting about this story. It was June 2003. Anything resonate with you? June 2003.
June 2003. You have to refresh my recollection.
So, 18 years ago, to be specific, page 184 of the Ebony magazine.
Yeah. Well, most eligible bachelors. That was. I don't know how that ended up happening.
Wait. To be specific to all the viewers at home, right? Bernie Mac was on fire that year. He was on the cover of Ebony magazine.
Yeah.
Before you young kids had your little swipe rights
Right.
and your Instagram and you was in there trying to get it popping, they had a thing called the Eligible Bachelor of the Year.
Yep.
My man had an expose on there. They had look. They did everything besides how much money he got. I promise you, he looked good. He on there posted up everything, bro.
Yep.
Walk us through that process.
Well, earlier that year, I had won a pretty big case that got some national notoriety, exactly. And so a publicist contacted me and said, are you interested in, a couple different, she had, a few magazine things. I said, yeah, I said, sure. So what happened is, Ebony Magazine contacted me and they wanted to interview me. And, I didn't know that I was actually going to be in there because I guess they interview a whole bunch of people and they narrow it down to whomever they're going to have in there. So I didn't know that I was actually in there until, the magazine came out till I was published.
I mean, not to be spoiler alert, but they only put legends in there. So by the way,
right. What's so funny to me though about the Ebony Magazine is, you may not think that's funny, but no.
I wish I could be. Look, Ebony Magazine called me. I'll be in there tomorrow.
What's so funny is I got so many letters from women in prison. I was getting letters from every women's penal institution in the country.
for you to try to help them with their case.
No, trying to get a date.
For you to wipe them up.
Yeah, for a date. I was getting letters, pictures. It was so funny. I would get hundreds and hundreds of letters from every correctional institution for where so that's what sticks out to me about that. That's funny, right?
That's
Right. It wasn't like no actresses and models. Well, I take that back. A couple, but a couple. However, the majority of the letters was from prison.
Right. Shout out to Grace Jones, man. You a real gracious
Right.
Legendary. So, but also, which I saw, which is something that kind of went into what I know you from, which was the Wright and Van Noy era. Because that was what you had listed as your content.
Yes.
Walk us through the Wright and Van Noy era for people who don't know it. It's different.
Right. Anthony Van Noy is a great lawyer. We were partners for probably 6-7 years. We got together early on. We both knew each other in law school. He went to UD Law School. I went to UC Law School. I used to come home, every weekend for the most part, and I would study in UD's law library. I would get away from Cincinnati and I'd come up here to study. Yeah. So me and Van Noy met, we talked a lot, kept talking about, when we get together, when we both graduate, when we both pass the bar, we're going to get together. So I got out, we both got out. He was working for Risa McCrae, who's also another legendary, black female trial attorney. Absolutely. Risa was the truth. And so Van Noy was working for her. I was working on my own. This is when I was, going back and forth to LexisNexis. So after about a year or so, me and Van Noy got together and we said, you know what, me and you can do this together. So we ended up, becoming partners, getting together, and having a nice little run.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, to me, I'm not going to put my business out there, but during the time it was y'all name. You know what I'm saying? Spoken about it. And then there was this white guy that they spoke about, which I met him, and I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to talk to you anymore, but the number you just said to me.
Right.
But seriously, y'all legendary run to me was really good. To me, y'all was like a super team.
Right. And we're still close. We just started doing different things. I got into the injury cases and stuff like that, and he stayed doing the criminal cases. So we just kind of, had separate practices, and we thought it was, best for both of us to, have our own niche. So that's kind of what we did. But, we're still brothers, and we still work together on cases. We just, in order to do this job for as long as I've done it, you got to really want to help people. You know what I mean? You got to really want to help people and put people in a better position than what they were in when they came to you.
Absolutely.
And I think that, I have a passion to do that. Because, all of us, we weren't born, with silver spoons. We weren't born but, we all deserve to be treated fairly and to have a fair shot similar to what everybody else has. So if I'm able to help people, kind of like I say, balance the scales of justice, that's what I'm going to do. And, that's what still wakes me up every morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So I also want to say, because that is really like in the fabric of your story. To me, you always see that reoccurring thing of you want to give back, you want to provide service to the community. Because you are already licensed to practice in Alabama, Florida, Georgia. It's not like you have to be stuck here. So to me, it's really testament to your story. But another point I wanted to make also was the fact that you have a strong sense of pride when it comes to the community. Is a positive influence basically how you grew up? Because you probably had a chance to see that arcade now.
Yep.
And before.
Yep.
Anything you want to give us in the middle of that?
Well, yeah, the arcade back when I was, back when I was coming up, you go in there, you could, there were stores, you could buy food, you could, we would go in there and, talk to girls. It was more of, recreation. It was more community. It was more, it was stuff to do. Mm-hmm. Now, I think they're doing a good job, but it's definitely not that. Right. It's not for, kids to, to go in there and kind of, hang out and have stuff to do. It's more corporate. But, it's hard. I really don't necessarily like, what kids have to do these days. When we were growing up, there were so many options of stuff to do, and now there doesn't seem to be as many options.
Like my favorite during that time was Roosevelt Center. One of my favorite places to go.
Princeton
Park, go out there, swim, everything.
Yep.
The fact that they're closing down our memorial centers, you want to call it that, and it turned into Roosevelt Commons, and I got to show an ID and all this extra stuff to get in there. It really does a disservice to the community. But another part was, so in 2005, I don't know when you actually joined there, but in 2005, I noticed that you had joined the Johnny Cochran team. Mm-hmm. Was that more of a legacy move, or was it more or less influenced by his, what he's accomplished?
So what happened back in 2005 is that, I had my own practice, and several of the lawyers, Johnny Cochran and some of the lawyers, his partners, and some of the associates were looking for young black attorneys that would be able to, handle cases in a manner in which he thought they should be handled. Right. So they reached out to me and asked me, would I be willing to take cases in Ohio that would be referred to me by the Cochran firm, and would I be interested in linking up with the Cochran firm, because they thought that, I had what they were looking for in terms of, being a good lawyer, in terms of having the right mindset and the right heart to fight for the right thing. And, I met with Johnny Cochran, I met with, a lot of, his team, and, I was definitely interested, and, and decided to do that.
So, meeting Johnny Cochran, are you saying that there's anything that you can draw from his legacy?
And I met with him earlier, because I think Mr. Cochran passed in 2005, but I met with him prior.
So would you say that there's anything that you could say towards the way he's running it when you join that speaks to his character and his legacy? What are some things you would say that are ingrained in the Cochran name?
Just that, he taught us to help those that were as he calls the lesser of those, the no J's, as he call it, not OJ's, the no J's, the folks that couldn't necessarily, afford the type of representation that they were getting from us, and he thought that, we had an obligation as black attorneys that have been given this platform and this ability to help right some of the wrongs that was going on, and to help our people have a voice and to fight back that what we believe to be, systematic racism and oppression and all of those things. So, as a result, I teamed up with a lot of great lawyers, and we've handled a lot of, significant cases.
Bro, well, one thing I was going to say, in order for somebody to get effective counsel, it's only one Mike Wright, and so they're coming to your firm basically because they want you to defend them, right? How does it work? Like, if you getting overwhelmed with so many people that want to come in and just have you be the one to defend them, do you pick the cases that you feel like that you believe in your heart that has some type of cause behind it, or how do you decide what case that you want to take or turn down?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Some cases are cause cases. Some cases are cases that I choose because it's just the right thing to do. Some cases, are cases that's the right thing to do, and it will be great financially. Yeah. So it's just, but. Everybody that calls me, I'm evaluating their case. Yeah. So, and you're right, I have thousands of clients. So it takes a team to make sure that everybody gets what they need. So, I make sure that the attorneys that I employ, have the same mindset that I have in terms of helping people. Yeah. My staff is the same. So I try to make sure that, everyone is treated appropriately. And, that's interesting because I have been practicing for like 25 years, and I've had my mom as the receptionist for probably 15, 20 of those years. So, she, and my mom would also pull my coattail, can you call Miss Smith, or can you call, Miss such and such, because they've called and they really want to speak with you. So I put those people in place that also, really have the desire to make sure that people's needs are getting met, and that, I'm addressing what needs to be addressed. Because, it is difficult sometimes to, have this number of clients and try to be everything for every client.
Yeah, and then people want to call and ask you a question that anybody in the office can answer,
they're calling for me, so I got to answer those questions,
Man, well, but people call me and ask, how much you going to charge me for a T-shirt front and back? I'm like,
right, I got everybody that's working in here should be able to answer that question, yeah. But they want to hear it from you. They want to hear it from you.
And that's one of the
and that's tough. I mean, and, even now, I go walk in downtown to, for lunch, and you get stopped by every person wanting to talk to me about their case, and they hadn't even called the office. They just waiting to randomly, see me walking downtown before they want to discuss their case.
The thing about it is, when they do finally see you, they tell you how much you are the one that's been bull crapping. They're like, bro, I've been trying to catch up with you for 2 months.
Right.
Bro, I swear,
I'm the type that, I'm not necessarily a micromanager, but I kind of know what's going on. So every phone call I know that comes through the office, that's probably not good, but that's just how I'm programmed, That's probably why I'm working so many hours is because, I'm paying very close attention to the details of, pretty much everything.
Or somebody that knows you personally will kind of like pull up on you and kind of start their case with you personally. Now you got to kind of transfer them into your business lane.
Yeah,
really,
right,
on
right.
How you're bringing cases in, how you sort them out. But they called you.
Yep. Yeah, so it's a business, and it's you have to learn also how to run a business.
Yes,
if you spend 20 minutes talking to 50 people every day, then you don't have time to work on the cases that you need to work on.
Right.
I mean, like a great segue, which is going before my point. But when you said, so like one of your friends hitting you up, I thought immediately a story about you and Marlon Shackelford when he got to that car accident, right? So, what was it like doing with your friend doing shout out to Marlon Shackelford.
Well, first off, I gotta say Marlon gotta drive better. Alright? Because Marlon been in several accidents. I don't know if he ain't paying attention or what Marlon doing, but well, I will give him that. That was their fault this time. Right, but but what's interesting is most of the people I represent are my friends because I grew up here. You spend 50 years in the same place, you're gonna know most everyone, which is good. So the thing that really is difficult is when you have to tell someone, hey, I can't, your case ain't good. Right. You ain't gonna win. This ain't a good case. I can't, I can't win this for you. Right. Those are the difficult conversations, because some people just don't take no for an answer, Right. And so sometimes you gotta, you gotta be pretty stern. But granted, I'm here to try to help everybody that I can. But there are some cases that, because the law is the way that it is, it's just a case that is not a winnable or actionable case because the law is the law.
Yeah. So which kind of segue into the next part, because like during 2012 we had a bunch of tragedies happen, such as we had the Trayvon Martin situation happen. I had a story that, like my best friend Dante Price was the one who was murdered at Summit Square.
Yep.
That was like my best friend during that time. He was, but thank God, what I'm saying, like the SCLC stepped in. Shout out to the brothers down there, man. Like they did amazing work.
Yep.
With like getting the community, what I'm saying, like involved in it, right?
Yep.
You had a case that was like piggybacking off of that one that was, it made headline news. You was on CNN for it.
Yep.
Which, that was the young brother.
John Crawford.
The third, for sure.
Yep.
So,
and it's 7 years later and we're still in court fighting that case. We're still in court. I'm still waiting for a trial date against Walmart. And we're still, so we're still fighting.
Right. And what you spoke about it mainly was the fact, like that the grand jury was, I'm not going to say tampered with because that's a legal terminology, but the words that Mark said.
Pete Meyer, yep.
Yeah, he kind of swayed them in a way with his way of speaking.
Yeah, and that's, that the prosecutor has a lot of control and a lot of deference as to who gets charged and who doesn't get charged. And, unfortunately, sometimes there's situations where we don't necessarily get, either the benefit of the doubt or, when it's a 50-50 call, they call a strike against us versus a ball, so I still, am definitely, upset about the way that, that was handled. I think it could have been handled differently. I think the family could have been handled better, and so that's still a scar in my, in what I believe to be, my legal career.
So in a legal capacity, I always want to ask this question: is how come whenever there is a black person who is killed, how come their playbook is always the same? Look at their record first, and then it's first thing that they broadcast. But isn't police reform is about where they're now announcing the violations against the police officers first? Because Dayton is actually doing police reform now.
Right. I think they are in the process of, doing police reform, but I think police reform starts with transparency. It starts with they need body cameras. We need to know what the actions the officers are taking, because as you know, most all these cases where there's been prosecution and convictions and, officers being held accountable, the vast majority of them are because of videos. So I think transparency will help in terms of, making sure that, they're doing what they're supposed to do. And there are a lot of, a lot of great police officers that are doing the right thing, but there's a small few that are, really making the system, bad.
Just like sorry. I have one more.
No, go ahead.
So, like for instance, like in 2015 with the Dante Martin case.
Yep.
You were the first one to speak about. I need to see the footage. Because there's no way possible he shot behind his neck or held a gun that way in that manner that would present a threat.
Right, and Dante Martin, that was a tough case because at the end, there was no video of what happened. There was the officers pulled up, but, because I knew that case just was not right. So I hired ballistic experts that basically went in, they took the autopsy, and they showed where all the shots came in. And based on the police's own statements, we knew that it didn't happen the way that they said it. Right. So I was able to, and you never have a successful result, when a man is killed, but I was at least able to bring some justice and show that those officers were lying and that they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So, that in and of itself, I have some gratification being able to say that, we caught them lying.
Right.
Nah, I was just thinking like there are a lot of great police officers, man. Yes. And police are doing a dangerous job. I mean, shit, they pulling up to situations that's just literally on fire.
Absolutely.
And they don't know what's about to happen. So they got to get in there and get it going. Right? And so, man, we got to salute them for that,
Absolutely.
I don't think it would be cool if we didn't. But there is another school of thought. There's a school of thought that says if you sit by and watch corruption happen,
right, you're complicit.
It's misconduct going on, and you don't say anything about somebody that actually got killed, beat, something that's serious, and you don't say nothing. You are part of the problem, like you are part of a cover-up.
Absolutely.
And if the shoe was on the other foot, if one of us was doing something that was criminal and we all stayed by and abetted and watched this thing happen, then we could be charged as an accessory. No, yeah,
absolutely.
Unless you rush the state capitol.
Never mind. My bad.
At any point,
is the blue wall of silence real? Is the bro? You've probably seen.
Oh, absolutely.
This. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. I have, videos of officers, protecting other officers, saying absolutely, lying about what happened based on the videos that we have,
So that's a CNN report where they were talking about when they interrogated his girlfriend after he got killed holding a BB gun. And they're acting as if there was an actual gun present to her.
Yeah, they were trying to write the narrative that he was in there trying to rob the place, That would have given them more justification to kill him. Right. So it's just it's sickening.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's terrible.
Yes,
that's terrible. And, if the police came in there and they made a mistake, to kill this man, but let's just say you made a mistake and you did it.
Yeah, own it.
You overreacted. Mm-hmm. Take responsibility for your actions,
Absolutely,
bro.
own it.
You made a mistake, dude. You came in there, you shot this man, you got a frantic call from somebody, you went in there to try to shut it down to save some lives. If that's what you did, say that's what you did, but at the same time, you made a mistake and you killed him. Be accountable for him and admit it. The cover-up is worse than the crime, bro.
Yes.
Yep. And since that case is still pending,
Right.
I'm not gonna have any more comments on it.
I got something nice to go to the next segue because I had this perfectly set up, right? One of my favorite commercials by you, because you are one of the most polarized people in Dayton, Ohio. I mean, me and Smith was sitting there marveling about how many how many videos have we seen of you, right? Mm-hmm. My favorite one is the airplane commercial where you're flying
that's a
around
cool
in
commercial.
there. So to me, it's like so many plays on words because I'm so poetic. Like I used to be a rapper, so the Wright brothers, the right choice,
right?
You in the plane.
Yep. I was trying to show that. Dayton is a lot about Wright State University, Wright Patterson Air Force Base, the Wright brothers, so I was like,
Michael Wright.
I'm in the right place, I'm supposed to be here, so that's
You right, by the way.
Yeah, that was good.
So another thing that like you also did was sexual misconduct cases, such as your OSU case. No. Well, that also, but you did a Michigan case first.
Nope. Michigan case is still going.
Okay.
OSU was first. Yep.
So you have an interesting take when it comes to that, because I feel like all of these people who are like sickos, I mean, and that is me saying not in a professional capacity, I'm saying like they should face jail time, not just monetary.
See, and how I did that is, I also had represented a few people against the Catholic Church that, those priests that were molesting. So, those are cases that I had that, weren't necessarily, publicized or anything like that. But that segue into the, Ohio State sexual abuse case, to the Michigan sexual abuse case.
Robert Anderson and Richard Strauss, you nasty boy.
Yes, and I've also had I have the case with Dakota Collins, the kid that was murdered, sexually assaulted and murdered by his father. I've had several cases where, I won't talk about, some local daycares where children were sexually assaulted. So, I've handled, a lot of those types of cases also. So,
how do you feel about the higher profile cases that you don't particularly have your hands on, such as, like the Harvey Weinsteins, the R. Kellys of the world? Do you feel like you truly get some type of substance when you make them pay rather than them having to lay in prison?
Yeah, and that's a very tough question, because, the whole system is supposed to be set up to reform people, to help people realize what they did was wrong, to help get them coping mechanisms and tools that they won't recidivate. So it's difficult when you put somebody in jail for the rest of their life, then they have no ability to rehabilitate and be introduced back to society. But there are some people that just can't be in society because they've proven that, they're a danger, that they're not going to act right. So, it's kind of a fine line as to determine, who does what. And I guess, that's why, the judges have to make those, those difficult decisions.
So I also want to ask you what's the value of great representation, such as a lot of negative stigmas go with public defenders, which I've seen them handle small cases with, it's kind of customary. Kind of like walking to McDonald's is kind of like a combo. You like, I walk in there, I had a speeding ticket, and I had my seatbelt off. And then they're going to say, okay, we throw the seatbelt off if you, like, anybody can walk in the court and do that.
But I want to say that some of the public defenders are the best lawyers that are out there.
Okay.
There are some public defenders that are outstanding lawyers, and they do that job because they want to make a difference.
Right.
You know, that's I wouldn't say, you know, I don't know what percentage I would say that is, but there's also a lot of, you know, young lawyers that start in the public defender's office so that they can get experience, you know, handling those types of cases. So there's a mix, but, you know, there are some very good lawyers that are public defenders. So it's hard to say, you know, what you're going to get, you know. You know, it's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get, but
I mean, if a public defender got, man, all of these people that want defense basically for free, it's going to be hard for them to prepare for the case, get all the resources that they need.
Well, I mean, the public defenders, they get a salary, you know, from the city or from the county, and they are supposed to be given the resources that they need to, you know, to defend someone. But, you know, the reality of it is that, you know, they probably have more cases than what they can handle, and probably have a lot less resources than, you know, a lot of other lawyers. But there's still some that are getting great results and that they are great lawyers. But so I can't tell you, you know, to not use a public defender, but, you know, most folks that have the financial means hire, you know, private lawyers.
Right. Because, like, let's speak about one of my friend cases, not put his name out there, but he literally was faced, like, he was going to do his life in prison. And literally him having a paid attorney was that person had enough money that he's paid for him to go hire out a detective
expert
to follow
absolutely.
around and get more information. He's free today just based off of that information. That's why you hire, most of the time, that's why you hire private lawyers, because they can do a lot more things and have a lot more resources and a lot more flexibility to get stuff, you know, like that done. But, you know, the county, the city, they have detectives on staff. They have, you know, so it's so not to disparage, you know, the public defender's office, because there again are a lot of great lawyers.
Mike, when you so you coming up, you know, through the ranks, you're building relationships too, with just colleagues, people that are also working downtown for whatever reason, and even prosecutors. But we don't know these things. It's just kind of stuff that we hear like on the streets.
Like they go to lunch together.
How important is relationships with prosecutors and defense attorneys? Do you guys really have relationships with each other?
Yeah, we have relationships, but, you know, they do their job, we do our job, you know. So your relationship ain't going to get a case dismissed, you know what I mean? They're not going to dismiss a case that they got good evidence on just because y'all cool with each other, you know. Will they give you a better deal? I wouldn't necessarily say that either. You know, the relationship is from the standpoint that, you know, that if this case is weak, I'm a good lawyer, and you're going to have one hell of a time trying to convict this person. Right. So that's the relationship. They know who's going to work and who ain't going to work, you know. So, you know, so they may work something out a little better with you because they know that, you know, their evidence might not be as strong as what they're, you know, purporting it to be, and as opposed to going there and taking L, they're going to, you know, make a deal with you.
Right. And do people come to you with that jailhouse law stuff telling you?
All the time. I get letters from people in prison probably every day, you know, wanting to take cases, telling me about, you know, why they were wrongfully convicted, and, you know, so I get a lot of that. Yeah.
Which is a great segue into the question I want to ask you. There's this TV series that I'm like almost obsessed with, right? And I said right. There's no pun intended, but his name is Isaac Wright Jr. is his name. His story was he was wrongly convicted of like drug charges, and then he ended up learning how to practice law while in prison, getting himself exonerated, and now he practices law.
Yeah, I saw that, and I didn't really like that a lot.
So you don't like the series called For Life?
Yeah. I thought it was a good concept. I don't know if it's based on. Is it based on a true story?
Yeah. It's based on 50 Cent. It's
okay. Yeah, because I would think that would be somewhat difficult to, I mean, people get law degrees, people get degrees in prison, but then to represent yourself and then I don't know. I think that's kind of a stretch, but it if it's a true story, then I think that's a great story. That guy should be really commended because that's the exception. Yeah. That's not the rule. That's the exception. So, but.
Do you got a good law movie that you really like?
Oh, that's a good question.
A good law movie that I like.
A Time to Kill. A Time to Kill.
A Time to Kill.
Yeah, I thought The Time to Kill was a good movie. I think Lincoln Lawyer was a good movie.
You rented out the movie theater and then
that was with
Jamie Foxx, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Brian Stevens.
What was the name of it?
Just Mercy.
Just Mercy.
Yeah. That was a very good movie.
That was good?
That was a very good movie, yes. Because it's based on the true story and, this lawyer who, is spending his life fighting for, folks that are wrongfully convicted. I mean, because there's so many people in jail right now that didn't do what they were convicted of doing. I mean, it's crazy. And a lot of those are us,
right.
Right.
I like The Practice, man.
Oh, yeah.
You ever watch that?
I watched The Practice, yes.
Man, The Practice is really good, bro. Oh, Eugene on there, get him to come and work. Right,
yeah. And I, sometimes it's hard for me to watch law shows. I can watch medical shows, but law shows sometimes, sometimes the writing is really good. Sometimes the writing is like, that wouldn't really happen.
Like I like The Devil's Advocate if I had to put one in there, but. Here at the Legendary People Podcast, we like to talk about a thing called the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is basically where something you've done or something I've heard that is extraordinary in your story that correlates with why you're a legend to me. So the butterfly effect to me is basically about representation, right? We talk about being represented on every plateau of the spectrum when it comes to music, when it comes to art, when it comes to everything, when it comes to the judicial system. We need representation. So what you've done is lay down the groundwork and paved it for others, such as in the case that you just said earlier with the Crawford case. If we had someone that was more skin folk there that's watching this happen, I don't think they would have presented it in a certain manner that they would have, at least it would have got past the grand jury, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, what you've laid down is monumental with the Thurgood Marshall Law Society. That's something that's going to benefit your kids, and hopefully nobody in your family going to need legal, but we all need it for something.
And they do. But
yeah. So I want to say unequivocally, you're a legend, like just based off your track record. And this is a short, condensed version of everything you've accomplished. And we've already talked for about an hour and 45 minutes, but I mean, with you with the African American Chamber of Commerce, that is monumental within itself. You're brokering $1 million deals. These are things that you have in your.
What'd you say about the 1%, bro?
Yeah, you are within the 1% of people who have achieved $1 million deals, and it's literally you and who else? It's only 1%. It's what? It's only 4,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, I've
trial lawyers.
Trial lawyers. I've been fortunate that I've had some good cases. I've had some great clients to represent, and we've had some successes. Mm-hmm. I've been very grateful. Just like, in Ohio now, you have Ben Crump, one of the famous lawyers. When he gets a case from Ohio, I'm the person that he calls to work on the case with,
Yeah. So wait, say that one more time for the people in the back that ain't hear you. When Ben Crump calls for a case in Ohio, what happens?
Yeah, when someone calls Ben Crump, when he gets a case in Ohio, he calls me to work on the case with him.
As he should.
So, yeah, and, we had this success with Andre Hill. That was a man that was shot and killed in Columbus. Yeah. We got a law passed on their behalf. We made the city, prior to this case, the Andre Hill case in Columbus, the city, the biggest case it ever paid was $1.3 million, okay? They paid $10 million in the case that we just had, a couple months ago. So, we had them pass laws that says that the officers have to turn on body cams when they start, interacting with folks. And also, if in fact the person has been shot or something is wrong with the person, they have to give them medical aid immediately, or that they can be sanctioned for that also. Right. So this just says, when when someone gets shot by the police, they can't just stand there and watch him die. Right. They got to do something to try to save this person's life. And if they don't do that, that's in and of itself is a crime.
So I got 3 more questions for guys. Man, you want to add something real quick before we?
Well, of course, man, we are extremely grateful for you to come through, bro. This whole platform is just made to inspire. To hear the challenges that you went through, to hear your beginnings, your humble beginnings, all the way up and everything that you've done in order to just, become the legend that you are today. And it's always hard for me to sit and let people heap praise on me. Yep. Part of the reason why is because, I know me. I know that I might only be operating at about 75% of what I could do, maybe 50. And to hear somebody continue to just say, how good I am.
Right. And I'm not done.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to go. It's kind of like if me and you was driving to Florida. Well, once we say peace out to Dayton, everybody is celebrating us and clapping and saying, they did it, they left. But, we got a whole journey to get to wherever we going, and we can't really celebrate until we actually get there.
Right.
And so I think that that's kind of like what you face with. But to everybody else, to see all bro, you have given, and this ain't just about me personally, but to my basketball program, bro, you have sponsored my teams.
Ohio Kings.
Multiple times. You put my kids, my basketball program, in your commercial. And these are only in your commercial. You've done Super Bowl commercials. You do a lot, bro. You come and and I'm only one person, but I'm just telling you from my personal experience. You just had me do all these shirts for your business. And you could have went anywhere and did that. And
no, I couldn't. I'm coming to you.
You could.
There's no place else to go.
That's love.
And that's why you here and we calling you a legend, because of, bro, your heart, your spirit, and everything that makes you up to be the person that you are, bro. And it's not just me that you do this for. You got a whole budget allocated to go through and, man, look out for people, bro. And it's very rare, bro. And you are very rare. Yeah. You know what I mean? And without me just embarrassing you too much to continue to say all of these good things,
oh, man,
bro,
I think that
it's just a lot of love, bro.
They always say, if you help other people get what they want, you can get what you want.
Yeah.
So that's also a philosophy, because we, this ain't an island. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here. If you weren't sitting there, I'm probably not sitting here. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just, all of us kind of collaborating and working together. And, I don't know what's next. Maybe I'll take the bench, become a judge. Maybe I'll, run and be the Montgomery County prosecutor.
Take that seat, man. Take that seat.
I have no doubt about it. You said it yourself. When you set a goal in mind, you're going to get your goal. And you got experience with other things that will really help you out as far as advertising, promoting, and running campaigns. I mean, you are a campaign king right now,
what?
bro.
Of course.
Like, man, bro, I was literally in Las Vegas and I seen a Michael Wright commercial, bro. I did.
Yeah.
I seen a Michael Wright commercial when I was in Vegas. And I'm like, damn, he running ads out here.
He worked.
Yeah.
Man, you know, I don't know. That was really shocking, man, because I know that we doing stuff for the hometown, but man, the status said that a nationally known attorney, bro, and you really are putting in work, bro. You know what I'm saying? Putting in work. Nothing is given to you. You working for it all.
Absolutely.
Real
brother.
talk.
Absolutely.
So now we're get to the viral questions of the moment.
Okay.
What is the fun part? Okay. So you already survived the interview,
All right, good.
So I need you to look into this camera right here and tell the people about the people that social medially incriminating themselves. Can you please tell them how hard your job is if somebody goes on Facebook Live and does the dumbest thing ever and they call you saying, "Can you get me out of this?"
Absolutely. What's very interesting, you might not believe this, but when someone comes after they come to my office and sign up with me, I am not allowed or supposed to tell them to remove stuff from Facebook or take stuff down from Facebook. I'm not allowed to do that. No. So
that's tamper with evidence.
Yes. So before you sign a contract with me, we'll have a conversation about what the do's and don'ts are, but they have it kind of rigged such that they let you hang yourself, they let you do stupid stuff, and they try to prevent people from preventing you from doing something stupid, like when someone's in a car accident or something. And they come into my office, I talk to them, tell them, you ain't supposed to do X, Y, Z, but 2 days later you see them hooping, or you see them, they're supposed to, just had knee surgery, and, they crawl some people over and stuff. I'm like, that don't help too much with your case. But you're right. Social media is, people try to become famous on social media, and that can be good and very bad.
Yeah.
And my last question, the most important question today, I asked you a bunch of questions that got real deep in your past, man.
Okay.
How do you feel about the crate challenge?
I was just good. I was rolling though today, seeing a few people fall off them crates.
What they call you? What they call you saying that I need you to defend a wrongful injury?
Yeah. Right. The crate broke, or they weren't put together close enough. Don't call me on those cases. Yeah, that's a loser. Don't call me. Don't do that. Those crate challenges is funny, but why are we doing that?
I know. Right. That's the question. Right. But do you know, my daughter told me that the crate challenge is going to evolve into a sport, and before long, everybody will master climbing up the crates, and then we'll be competing on who can do it the fastest.
Well, I don't know. With some of the Olympic sports I've seen, that could be possible. They have some sports I didn't even know was sports in the Olympics. But yeah, just stop the crate challenge, because the people that I was watching, they were getting broke.
Man, but you know what, bro? It's like literally the drunkest people in the world.
They were getting.
But it's that money. They pull out like $500-600. They like, you make it across.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is funny, but it's sad,
It is. Why are we doing it?
Right? Why are we doing this?
Right.
Absolutely.
So you shot your social media presence or anything like that? Or?
Just Michael Wright attorney. I'm on Facebook. I think I'm on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. So, but if you've been injured, contact me.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, man. Listen, this is another Legendary People podcast sponsored by my man T-Shirt Kings, my man.
T-Shirt Kings, yes.
Also, I'm Peanut, aka Dash Resource, where you can get my book on Amazon for free.
Absolutely, brother.
I can teach
Thank
you how
you.
to trade stocks for free. So, man, thank you, man.
No, thank you.
Man.
Thank you.
Man, but you did great, man.
Man, thank you.
Anything for you, Sweat?
Yep, we out of here. Oh, like and subscribe, man. Ring the bell notification. And Follow us on all social media platforms. That's it. Peace.
All right.
Michael Wright. Yes, sir.